Urgent, Luka Dončić makes a decision that will shake the entire NBA. Stay until the end to find out everything. But before starting the video, leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any important news from the Lakers. When the NBA world least expected, rumors began surfacing through the well-connected voices at ESPN. Luka Dončić, the Slovenian superstar whose magical performances had made him a household name in Dallas, was now negotiating a contract extension not with the Mavericks, but with the Los Angeles Lakers. The news, at first murky and unbelievable, began to crystallize. According to sources close to the situation, the Lakers are working to secure Dončić on a 3-year, $165 million deal, roughly 930 million Brazilian reais. And with that, the league's balance shifted once more. This wasn't just a transaction, it was a potential seismic move in basketball history. Luka Dončić, at 26 years old, is already considered one of the most versatile and brilliant offensive players of his generation. Pairing him with the iconic purple and gold of the Lakers adds another chapter to a franchise known for stars. From Magic Johnson to Kobe Bryant, from Shaq to LeBron James, the Lakers are synonymous with greatness. And now they aim to lock in Dončić as their next central figure for the future. Reports suggest Dončić has taken quickly to life in Los Angeles. Far from the flat landscapes of Texas, the vibrant atmosphere of Southern California offers the lifestyle and exposure that few NBA markets can rival. Those close to him say he's enjoying the change, a fresh locker room culture, the bustling LA nightlife, and access to high-level off-court business opportunities. The Lakers, aware of his comfort, see this as leverage, both in negotiations and in their long-term planning. They don't want Dončić for a year or two, they want him to become the face of the franchise. Dončić's current contract runs through the 2025-26 season, with a player option that could keep him in the league through 2026-27. However, due to the timing of his trade to the Lakers in February, he became ineligible for the coveted Supermax contract he would have received had he remained in Dallas. That deal could have netted him $345 million over 5 years, an unprecedented sum even by NBA standards. By joining Los Angeles mid-season, he forfeited the right to such an extension under current NBA rules, which are designed to incentivize loyalty to smaller market teams. The Supermax rule, implemented in 2017, was created to give smaller franchises a better chance to retain their stars. It rewards players who reach all NBA levels of success while staying with the team that drafted them or traded for them early in their careers. Luka, having met those criteria with Dallas, stood to benefit enormously. But now that's off the table. What the Lakers are offering, though not as long or as lucrative, still represents a monumental payday, and one that comes with substantial perks. The 3-year, $165 million proposal makes Dončić one of the highest-paid players in NBA history on an annual basis. It also gives him the flexibility to reassess his future sooner, rather than committing for half a decade. For a player as savvy as Luka, the combination of financial security and career control might be more valuable than the extra digits in a longer contract. Time, however, is not infinite. Under NBA guidelines, the Lakers have until August 2nd to finalize this extension. After that, Dončić would head into the 2025-26 season without a new deal, and with unrestricted free agency looming. For LA, locking him in early prevents speculation and distraction. For Dončić, it means clarity and security, and a clear signal of his commitment to this new chapter. In the background, league executives are watching closely. This negotiation has implications beyond Los Angeles. It raises questions about the value of the Supermax contract and whether stars will continue to forego massive sums in exchange for the opportunity to play in markets like LA or New York. It challenges the notion that financial incentives alone are enough to keep talent in smaller cities. Luka Dončić might become the next player to shift the paradigm, choosing opportunity, exposure, and team culture over raw dollar figures. Despite the financial loss he took by leaving Dallas, there's little doubt that Dončić is already thriving in Los Angeles. In just 33 games with the Lakers, counting both regular season and playoffs, he's posted averages of 28.5 points, 7.9 rebounds, 7.3 assists, 1.5 steals and 0.5 blocks. These numbers reflect not only consistency but elite impact. Even in a new system with new teammates and under immense pressure, Dončić has delivered. The chemistry is building. The fans are falling in love. The Lakers, as always, are dreaming big. Whether or not the extension is signed by the August deadline remains to be seen. But the pieces are in motion and the picture is becoming clearer. Luka Dončić isn't just visiting Los Angeles. He might be here to stay, and the Lakers are determined to make that future official. For many athletes, relocating mid-season to a new franchise, let alone one in the glaring spotlight of Los Angeles, can be overwhelming. Yet for Luka Dončić, the transition from Dallas to the Lakers unfolded almost naturally. Though he had built his name in Texas, racking up triple-doubles and earning All-NBA honors, something about LA resonated deeply with the Slovenian guard. From the moment he landed, his energy shifted. The city's rhythm, its mix of basketball heritage and entertainment spectacle, matched his personality and ambition. Friends close to Luka say he immediately immersed himself in Los Angeles culture. He rented a sleek modern home in the hills, found favorite dining spots around Santa Monica, and even developed a quiet fascination with the local art scene. Paparazzi occasionally caught glimpses of him at film premieres, but it was clear he wasn't just chasing the celebrity life. He was adapting, observing, and envisioning something bigger. Teammates noted the same thing. Dončić wasn't a tourist in LA. He was already making it his home. That comfort translated quickly to the court. Luka's game didn't just remain steady, it flourished. In the 33 games since joining the Lakers, including postseason appearances, his production mirrored the numbers he posted in Dallas but with a renewed sense of creativity. Averaging 28.5 points, 7.9 rebounds and 7.3 assists per game, he seamlessly assumed the offensive helm. His vision, timing, and ability to manipulate defenders created countless easy buckets for his teammates, and his signature step-back three became a staple at Crypto.com Arena. Veterans in the Lakers' locker room spoke glowingly about his impact. Anthony Davis, the franchise's other cornerstone, praised Luka's high basketball IQ and his willingness to listen. "He knows what he wants," Davis said, "but he also wants to make everyone around him better. You can't teach that." Dončić's unselfishness and elite talent quickly endeared him to the coaching staff, who began restructuring their playbook to center his strengths. In a franchise steeped in history, fitting in isn't always easy. But Luka didn't try to fill the shoes of Kobe, Magic, or LeBron. Instead, he brought his own rhythm, a mix of European fundamentals and streetball swagger. The fans, at first cautious, quickly embraced him. Every night, "Luka" chants echoed through the arena, a signal that a new chapter in Lakers lore had begun. Off the court, his market value soared. Los Angeles provided exposure that even Dallas couldn't match. Luka became the face of multiple global campaigns, energy drinks, fashion brands, and streaming platforms all vying for his image. He began appearing on magazine covers, late-night talk shows, and social media platforms curated for a more international audience. His team started negotiating partnerships in Europe and Asia simultaneously, leveraging the Lakers' global brand with his already massive fanbase in Slovenia and beyond. One of the most strategic moves his management made was pushing for expanded influence in franchise decisions. While Luka was not seeking full control, he wanted his voice heard. He began advocating for more international staff on the analytics and training teams, people who understood his background and preparation style. The Lakers, recognizing his value, agreed. This opened the door for new performance specialists and European consultants to join the staff, creating a unique hybrid of NBA and EuroLeague philosophies. Meanwhile, Luka and the Lakers front office began intensifying contract negotiations behind the scenes. His camp made it clear. He loved playing in Los Angeles, but the terms had to reflect both his value and his unique situation. They weren't just talking dollars, they were talking legacy. The proposed 3-year, $165 million deal gave Luka flexibility, ensuring he could reassess the team's competitiveness before committing long-term. For the Lakers, it ensured they retained their new superstar without the risks of a 5-year deal with Supermax constraints. there was another angle: personal motivation. Doncic, always conscious of comparisons to greats, saw this moment as a pivotal turning point in his career. In Dallas, he had elevated the Mavericks to playoff contention, but never reached the finals. In Los Angeles, the path was steeper, but the rewards greater. A championship with the Lakers in the shadow of legends would elevate him to global superstardom, and he knew it. He also embraced mentorship. Though LeBron James had stepped back from full-time play, he remained active behind the scenes. LeBron invited Luka to private dinners, helped him navigate the business of LA, and offered advice on managing fame, critics, and long seasons. It was a passing of the torch not only on the court but off it as well. With LeBron's endorsement, Doncic's place in the Lakers' future felt secure. By late May, signs of Luka's influence were visible everywhere, from marketing billboards across the city to the team's on-court identity. His face appeared next to Davis on playoff graphics. Kids wore his jersey at youth camps. European tourists stopped by the arena just to take pictures with his banner. The cultural fusion was complete, a Slovenian icon becoming a Los Angeles legend. Now, with contract talks accelerating toward that August deadline, all signs point to an imminent agreement. Luka has signaled his intent. The Lakers have cleared the financial space. What began as a mid-season experiment has transformed into a long-term vision. Luka Dončić, once a visitor, now looks very much like the next great Laker. In a franchise where names like Magic, Kareem, Kobe, and LeBron are more than legends, they're institutions. Stepping into that lineage is no small task. Yet Luka Dončić, with his usual mix of flair and calm, never seemed intimidated by the ghosts of greatness. If anything, he appeared inspired. Each time he stepped onto the court wearing the purple and gold, he carried himself not as someone trying to replace those before him, but as someone ready to forge his own identity among them. By mid-season, whispers around the league grew louder. Luka's the real deal in LA, some execs muttered in private. Analysts began comparing his arrival to when Shaquille O'Neal signed in 1996, an elite talent joining the league's most glamorous franchise, turning attention back to Hollywood with one bold move. It wasn't just about numbers, though Luka's averages remained elite. It was the moments, clutch shots, highlight reel passes, confident interviews, that created the illusion that he'd been a Laker his whole life. What many fans didn't know was how seriously Doncic took his role as the franchise's new centerpiece. Off the court, he dedicated hours to studying Lakers history. He met with team historians, requested old game footage, and asked to walk through the practice facility's Hall of Fame corridor on his own. He wanted to understand the pressure, not just wear the jersey but earn its weight. That drive earned the respect of Lakers veterans and executives alike. The franchise in turn rolled out the red carpet. Lakers president Jeannie Buss and GM Rob Pelinka made Luka a central figure in all their future planning. He was invited into off-season strategy discussions, given insight into scouting reports, and offered a voice in team-building decisions. It was an unofficial partnership, but everyone knew. Luka Dončić wasn't just another star, they were betting the next era of Lakers basketball on him. On the hardwood, that faith was justified. Doncic's presence transformed the Lakers' offense. Gone were the more static, isolation-heavy sets of previous years. In their place came a fluid, motion-heavy scheme with Luka as the hub. His ability to read double teams, find cutters, and punish switches opened up the floor for players like Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. Even Anthony Davis saw a boost, often benefiting from Luka's precision lob passes and spacing control. But Luka's value wasn't limited to offense. While never known for lockdown defense, his commitment to team schemes and effort in key moments improved. His communication on the court grew more assertive. He challenged teammates when they slacked and held himself accountable when mistakes occurred. Coaches noticed. So did fans. By early spring, with the playoffs approaching, the Lakers found themselves surging. What had started as a transitional season now looked like a campaign with real postseason promise. Luka had brought something intangible with him: belief. The players trusted him in crunch time. The fans expected late-game magic. Opponents, even the most battle-tested, approached games against LA with added caution. Luka wasn't just a scorer, he was a tone setter. Amid this rise, contract negotiations began to crystallize. Though talks had started quietly, both sides were now actively pushing for a resolution before the August deadline. Sources close to the negotiations described the process as respectful and smooth, with Doncic representatives emphasizing long-term compatibility over maximum dollars. That didn't mean Luka was settling financially. $165 million over 3 years is massive, but it meant he was thinking like a franchise pillar, not just a hired gun. Still, there were obstacles. For one, the collective bargaining rules around Supermax eligibility meant the Lakers couldn't offer the same scale that Dallas could have. Luka's camp raised questions about potential incentives, marketing rights, and post-retirement roles, conversations that showed how seriously they viewed this as more than just a basketball move. They weren't just negotiating a contract. They were negotiating a legacy. LeBron James, though largely hands-off in team affairs by this point, played a key role behind the scenes. He reportedly spoke with Luka multiple times during the early months of the year, offering guidance on how to manage life as the Lakers' central figure. "It's not about pressure," LeBron told him. "It's about presence. You don't chase legacy here, you build it by showing up every day." Luka took that message to heart. Meanwhile, across the league, executives began rethinking their own strategies. Luka's transition proved that stars could, and would, leave Supermax deals behind for better environments. That reality had ripple effects. Teams started investing more in culture, support systems, and off-court engagement. Luka's move to LA didn't just reshape the Lakers. It was reshaping the league's understanding of what players valued most. Back in Los Angeles, billboards across the city now featured his face. Murals began appearing in neighborhoods like Venice and Inglewood, painting Luka as a kind of mythic figure, part gunslinger, part savior. And yet, in interviews he remained humble. "I'm just doing what I love," he said in a post-game presser. "This city's given me a lot already. I just want to give something back." With the season heading toward its climax, the pressure, and potential, mounted. The question was no longer if Luka Dončić belonged in the Lakers' lineage. It was how far he could take them and how soon. As the summer sun began to loom over Southern California, the energy around the Lakers' training facility shifted. Though the season had concluded in a respectable playoff run, the tension hadn't vanished, it had only evolved. Now, the question wasn't about what Luka Dončić could do in a Lakers jersey. That had been answered. It was about the future. The money. The vision. The commitment. The $165 million, 3-year deal remained on the table, generous by any measure. But it was also a symbol, a litmus test of how much Luka valued Los Angeles versus what he had left behind in Dallas. From a purely financial perspective, the difference was staggering. Had he stayed with the Mavericks and accepted their 5-year Supermax offer, he'd be looking at $345 million. By joining the Lakers mid-season, that path was closed. There would be no retroactive fix, no CBA workaround. The league's rules were firm. And still Luka didn't flinch. Inside his inner circle, discussions became philosophical. His longtime agent, his Slovenian trainer, a trusted European advisor, they all understood the weight of his decision. Was it worth sacrificing nearly $200 million for the chance to win under the brightest lights in basketball? For the opportunity to lead the Lakers into a new dynasty? In private, Luka's answer was always the same: yes. Money, while important, had never defined Dončić. Since his teenage years with Real Madrid, he had learned to value environments, systems that supported his development, challenged his instincts, and gave him room to create. The Lakers, with their blend of prestige, flexibility, and vision, offered that rare balance. Luka saw Los Angeles not only as a basketball project but as a platform to elevate his voice globally. But ambition carries a cost. With such influence comes responsibility and scrutiny. Every day, sports talk shows dissected his decision. Was he being short-sighted by leaving Dallas? Could the Lakers really build a contender around him in Davis? Would 3 years be enough to secure a title and justify this shift? And there were complications inside the Lakers' own war room. Though the front office was committed to Luka, They also had to juggle cap space, roster demands, and future draft considerations. Signing Luka to a short-term high-cost deal meant less room to maneuver elsewhere. Could they attract a third star? Could they build a deep enough bench to withstand a grueling Western Conference playoff run? Behind closed doors, Dončić voiced his concerns. He wanted guarantees, not in contract clauses but in vision. He asked for transparency about the team's direction. He wanted to understand their scouting process, their free agency priorities, and their development plans. He wasn't micromanaging, he was investing. Jeannie Buss, ever the diplomat, understood. Luka doesn't want to be catered to, she told a Lakers insider. He wants to be respected. That distinction shaped the rest of the negotiation process. The team responded by involving Luka in select pre-draft meetings. They let him watch film on prospects. He was asked for feedback on veteran free agents. Though he had no veto power, it was clear his opinion mattered. This wasn't just about appeasing a star. This was about building around one who had already taken ownership. Meanwhile, Doncic's brand off the court continued to skyrocket. With the help of new West Coast management, he was fielding offers from Silicon Valley investors, fashion houses in Paris, and production studios in Los Angeles. One project, an animated miniseries about his journey from Ljubljana to LA, was already in development. Luka wasn't just living in Los Angeles. He was becoming part of its cultural fabric. Still, as July approached, the deal remained unsigned. There were no leaks, no drama, just silence. Some speculated Luka was reconsidering. Others believed he was waiting for roster moves to solidify before committing. Internally, however, the mood remained optimistic. Rob Pelinka spoke at a charity event and, without mentioning names, made a pointed comment. Sometimes the most important deals take the longest not because there's doubt, but because both sides care that much. It was read by many as a subtle nod to the Dončić negotiations. For Luka, timing mattered. He wanted to sign with confidence, knowing that the Lakers' direction aligned with his championship ambitions. He wasn't interested in building a personal empire atop a mediocre roster. He needed proof that the Lakers could deliver and, more importantly, that they were willing to evolve. Then in mid-July, a domino fell. The Lakers made a significant trade, acquiring a defensive-minded wing and a veteran playmaker known for postseason poise. Instantly, the message was clear. They were all in on contending now. Luka's camp took note. Momentum shifted. Days later, Luka was seen entering the Lakers' training facility alone, early in the morning. He spent time on the court, then met quietly with front office members in a private lounge. The next day, Jeannie Buss scheduled a meeting with his agent. The deadline was less than 3 weeks away and everything was falling into place. Dončić had gambled by coming to Los Angeles. He had turned down the safety of a Supermax for the chance to lead a legacy franchise into a new era. Now that decision was nearing its most pivotal moment, the signature. And in a city that rewards stars bold enough to take center stage, Luka Dončić was ready to claim the spotlight. August 2nd dawned like any other Los Angeles morning, clear skies, golden sunlight, and the usual buzz of city life. But for Lakers fans and indeed the entire NBA landscape, it was far from an ordinary day. The date wasn't just circled on the Lakers' calendar, it was underlined, highlighted, and bolded. It marked the final opportunity for the franchise to lock in their new centerpiece, Luka Dončić. For weeks, tension had been simmering. Lakers insiders remained cautiously optimistic, while fans lived in a cycle of hopeful tweets, Reddit theories, and YouTube breakdowns of Doncic's body language during practices. But as of 7 a.m., no official announcement had been made. Nothing leaked. No cryptic emojis on Luka's social media. Just radio silence. That silence, however, belied the reality behind the scenes. At 9 a.m., Luka arrived at the Lakers' El Segundo facility, dressed not in Lakers gear but in a sharp slate gray suit, rare for a player who typically favored hoodies and sneakers. His expression was composed but unmistakably focused. His longtime agent, a former European player turned business strategist, was already waiting inside. General Manager Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss were there too, as were a handful of key legal and PR personnel. What followed was not just a contract signing, it was a declaration. The room was filled with quiet, professional energy. Luka asked a few final questions about incentives, payment structures, and marketing partnerships, and received concise, confident answers. His team nodded. No drama. No hesitations. At 9:42 a.m., Luka Dončić signed his name across the final page of the 3-year, $165 million contract. It was done. A sense of calm washed over the room. Everyone knew what this moment meant. Not just the securing of a star, but the beginning of a new Lakers era. The franchise had gambled by trading for Dončić mid-season, sacrificing young depth and future picks. But now that gamble had paid off in full. Moments later, the Lakers' official X, formerly Twitter, account posted a black and white photo of Luka holding a pen above the dotted line. The caption was simple, "Locked in." Purple circle, yellow circle. The internet erupted. Fans flooded timelines with celebration. NBA players from across the league sent congratulatory posts. ESPN and TNT broke into regular programming with on-screen banners. Breaking: Luka Dončić signs $165 million deal with Lakers. Analysts debated what the next 3 years would look like. Some claimed this was the birth of another dynasty. Others questioned whether the Lakers had done enough to surround Luka with the talent needed to win now. But in Los Angeles, the mood was pure euphoria. The Lakers held an impromptu press conference that afternoon. Luka stood at the podium, flanked by Buss and Pelinka, flanked by a massive screen projecting, "Welcome to the future." He smiled more than usual, clearly relaxed after months of speculation. When asked what made him commit, his answer was simple but telling. "It's not just about basketball. It's about belief. I believe in this team. I believe in this city. And now I'm here to win." Reporters followed up with more difficult questions. About the $200 million left on the table in Dallas, about pressure to win in Los Angeles, about legacy. Luka didn't dodge any of them. "I know what I gave up," he said. "But what I'm building here is bigger than one contract. I want to make history." Behind the scenes, teammates celebrated the news with private texts and video calls. Anthony Davis, who had been in regular contact with Luka all off-season, posted a photo of the two during a practice session, captioned simply, "Let's cook." The tone across the team was now unmistakable. This wasn't a bridge year anymore. This was year one of something serious. From a business standpoint, the ripple effects were immediate. Lakers jersey sales surged online. International subscriptions to NBA League Pass spiked, particularly across Europe. The team's front office began fielding calls from agents representing free agents who had previously shown little interest in joining LA. Suddenly, players wanted in. And Luka's team wasted no time expanding his brand. That same week, he finalized a deal with a major tech company to launch a youth training app. He also confirmed plans to host a charity exhibition game in Slovenia the following off-season, an event the Lakers agreed to support with coaches and resources. His vision, as always, extended beyond the court. Yet perhaps the most powerful moment came the night after the signing. Luka returned to Crypto.com Arena, not for a game but for a private shoot-around. Just him, a few rebounders, and silence. He spent nearly an hour going through drills, working on footwork, refining his free throws, running through set plays in his head. No cameras. No press. Just the sound of sneakers on hardwood. To the security staff watching from the rafters, it looked like a player rehearsing for the season. But to those who had followed Doncic's journey, it meant more. It was symbolic. This wasn't a player enjoying his payday. This was a man preparing to earn it. Luka knew the weight of what came next. The contract was signed. The expectations were sky-high. And the legacy of the Lakers, rich, daunting, glorious, was now part of his story. He wouldn't run from it. He would rise with it. With Luka Dončić officially locked in, the Lakers' front office wasted no time. They had 3 years, maybe less, to maximize the championship window. There was no illusion about what this commitment meant. Luka hadn't signed just to entertain. He had signed to win. Every conversation between the coaching staff and executives began with the same question: how do we build around Luka now? Head coach Darvin Ham, already familiar with navigating superstar egos, now had the task of reshaping the Lakers system entirely. The 2024-25 season had ended on a high note, with Dončić leading the team into a competitive playoff run. But to move from contender to champion, the Lakers needed to become something more cohesive, more dangerous, more complete. Pelinka and his staff analyzed Luka's tendencies deeply. His preference for high pick and rolls. His surgical control of pace. His ability to manipulate defenses without elite athleticism. They didn't just want to give him talent. They wanted to give him synergy. The first move came quickly, a savvy trade that brought in a 3-and-D wing with playoff experience and defensive versatility. That move alone took pressure off Dončić on the defensive end, giving him the freedom to conserve energy for fourth quarters. Next came a veteran point guard, more a locker room presence than an on-court savior, but someone who had been deep in the trenches of the postseason before. He was brought in to mentor the younger guys and keep the locker room steady when things inevitably got stormy. Behind the scenes, Luka was consulted every step of the way, not to veto but to guide. His feedback remained consistent: spacing, intelligence, toughness. "I don't need all-stars," he told Pelinka in one meeting. "I need dogs." The Lakers also turned inward, investing in development. Austin Reeves, fresh off a breakout year, was given a more prominent role as a secondary playmaker. Rui Hachimura worked with a new shooting coach. Young prospects were encouraged to train in Slovenia with Luka's off-season team. The entire system began to orbit him, not just tactically but philosophically. The coaching staff revamped their offensive sets. Instead of trying to mold Luka into a traditional Lakers star, they built around his unique rhythm. Slower pace. Mismatch hunting. Spread pick and rolls with shooters in every corner. Practices shifted toward communication drills, off-ball movement, and understanding Luka's reads. If Dončić was a chess master, the team needed to become his board. During preseason games, the results were immediate. Luka looked more in control than ever. He wasn't forcing anything, he didn't have to. With teammates in the right spots and a coaching staff that trusted his instincts, the game looked easy. His averages ticked up slightly, around 30 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, but more importantly, the team was winning and winning smart. But not everything was perfect. Midway through training camp, the media uncovered internal tension between Dončić and a young forward who had been expected to take a leap that season. Reports suggested Luka was frustrated with the player's defensive lapses and inconsistent effort. Rather than ignore it, the Lakers allowed it to surface. Dončić took the player aside after practice one day. Not to scold but to lead. "You don't have to be perfect," he said, according to team sources. "But you have to give a damn every play. Or someone else will take your spot." It was a line that would later be quoted repeatedly by Lakers insiders, both as a wake-up call and a sign that Dončić had embraced the role of vocal leader, something few had expected from him early in his career. Meanwhile, LeBron James, mostly retired from active play but still heavily involved in Lakers operations, became an informal mentor to Luka. Their conversations weren't about schemes, they were about sustaining greatness. About how to manage the media. How to control the narrative. How to last. "You can drop 40 in a game and still lose the room if you don't bring others with you," LeBron told him during one private sit-down. Dončić listened. He began including bench players in post-game dinners. He made time for one-on-one sessions with the coaching staff. He started showing up early not just to shoot but to watch film with younger teammates. The message was clear. This wasn't the Luka show. This was the Lakers and everyone needed to move together. The NBA took notice. Power rankings began placing the Lakers in the top 3 heading into the season. Sports networks ran countdown segments titled, "Dončić's Dynasty?" European media hailed him as the most influential Slovenian athlete of all time. And yet, amidst all the hype, Luka remained grounded. When asked during media day what his goals were, he responded simply, 1. Championship. That's all. The Lakers front office, meanwhile, continued fine-tuning. Analysts were brought in to monitor advanced metrics in real time. Nutritionists from Olympic programs were hired. Travel schedules were optimized to reduce fatigue. No detail was too small. If Luka was going to give them 3 years, they would extract every ounce of potential from them. Inside Crypto.com Arena, the atmosphere changed. Practices were sharper. Players were more vocal. Coaches pushed harder. Even the security guard said the place felt different now. Doncic's presence wasn't just about talent, it was about tone. He had said it. By the time the regular season opener arrived, the Lakers were a machine, not yet perfect but hungry, disciplined, and dangerous. Luka led the team out of the tunnel that night to a roaring crowd. For a split second he paused, soaking it in. He wasn't just wearing the jersey anymore. He was defining it. The lights dimmed inside Crypto.com Arena. Spotlights swept across the rafters, illuminating banners from past glory, names like Bryant, Magic, Kareem, Shaq. The announcer's voice echoed through the dome, and now, your Los Angeles Lakers. The crowd erupted, but it was the final name that sent the arena into frenzy. Starting at guard from Ljubljana, Slovenia, number 77, Luka Dončić. He jogged onto the court, tapping his chest, then pointing to the sky. There was no bravado, just focus. It was opening night of the 2025-26 NBA season. And this time, Luka wasn't the outsider, the new arrival, the mid-season trade acquisition. He was the face, the foundation, the franchise. The opponent was a perfect test. The reigning champions, the Boston Celtics. A coast-to-coast rivalry as old as the league itself. But the moment wasn't too big for Luka. It never had been. From EuroLeague titles at 19 to triple-doubles under postseason pressure, he had always thrived in moments that swallowed others whole. And so the game began. From the opening tip, Luka dictated everything. Not with raw speed but with orchestration. He slowed the tempo, then accelerated out of nowhere. He baited defenders into switches, then exploited every mismatch. The Lakers had tailored their system to him, and it showed. By halftime, Dončić had 18 points, 6 assists and 5 rebounds. The Lakers were up by 11. The Celtics looked stunned, not by athleticism but by control. Luka wasn't just scoring, he was conducting. But the Celtics pushed back in the third. Jason Tatum caught fire and the lead evaporated. The Lakers' bench grew tense. Yet Luka, as always, stayed composed. With the score tied midway through the fourth quarter, he huddled the team during a timeout. "We've been here before," he told them. "We finished this together." What followed was signature Luka. A no-look assist to Hachimura in the corner. A step-back three over 2 defenders. A quick steal and transition lob to Davis. And finally, with under 30 seconds left, the dagger. A fadeaway jumper from the right elbow as the shot clock expired. Swish. The Lakers won 108-103. The arena exploded. Fans chanted his name. Social media lit up with posts proclaiming Luka's house. Inside the locker room, champagne wasn't popped. That was for titles. But the energy was celebratory. The team had passed its first real test. Reporters swarmed the post-game podium. Luka, cool and slightly amused, fielded every question with the ease of a veteran. Was tonight about proving something? Not proving, he replied. Just starting. The media wasn't the only audience that night. Across the league, rival GMs and superstars watched closely. Luka had arrived not just as a talent, but as a threat. The Lakers, long criticized for chasing aging stars, had finally landed one in his prime, and built around him properly. Behind the scenes, endorsements rolled in. That week alone, Luka signed deals with a global coffee brand, a smartwatch company, and an LA-based sportswear startup. But more importantly, he began filming a short documentary series about his journey, from Ljubljana's concrete courts to Staples banners to a new chapter in gold and purple. The project, set to premiere mid-season, wasn't about fame. It was about legacy. Meanwhile, tensions were quietly rising among other teams. Luka's presence in the West had shifted power dynamics. Younger stars who once saw the Lakers as past their prime were now circling LA games on their calendars. And playoff hopefuls like the Nuggets, Warriors, and Suns were adjusting strategies, sometimes even lineups, based on how to handle Dončić. The Lakers responded in kind. Practices became more intense. Film sessions grew longer. Load management was applied surgically, especially for Luka. He wasn't overused, but neither was he babied. Every game mattered now. Through the first month of the season, the Lakers went 9-3. Luka averaged 29.8 points, 9.4 assists, 8.2 rebounds per game. More importantly, he was second in the league in crunch time efficiency. When the clock wound down, there was no question who got the ball. Fans began showing up 2 hours early just to watch him warm up. Kids lined up in number 77 jerseys. Slovenian flags waved proudly from the upper levels. It felt familiar, like when Kobe had ruled this building, when every game felt like an event. Luka wasn't Kobe. He didn't pretend to be. But he honored that energy with his own. Calm, surgical, lethal. Still, not everything was smooth. One late November game, the Lakers suffered a shocking home loss to a rebuilding Rockets team. Luka played well statistically, but his frustration boiled over in the postgame. He called out the team's defensive lapses publicly, a rare move for him. Some questioned whether it was a crack in leadership. Others saw it as a turning point. The next day he called a players-only meeting. No coaches. No press. Just the roster in a quiet room, doors closed. Reports say Luka spoke for nearly 15 minutes straight. Not yelling but direct. Focused. Challenging everyone, not with threats but with expectations. The message was clear: we're not here to have fun. We're here to make history. If you're not ready for that, let me know now. No one did. From that day on, the Lakers didn't just play hard. They played like a team with something to prove. Luka Dončić wasn't just leading in stats anymore. He was leading in spirit. The NBA All-Star break came and went, and the Lakers sat near the top of the Western Conference with a 38-17 record. Luka Dončić, now firmly entrenched in MVP discussions, had just recorded back-to-back triple-doubles against Golden State and Milwaukee. He was everywhere: highlight reels, front-page sports stories, even late-night interviews. But the real story wasn't the stats. It was the gravity. Luka had become a center of mass, pulling the franchise, the fan base, and even the league toward him. The Lakers had rediscovered their identity, not by returning to old formulas, but by trusting something new, controlled brilliance wrapped in European poise. And the league was feeling it. But with greatness came pressure. The second half of the season brought with it a heavier schedule. Back-to-backs, altitude road trips, playoff seeding battles. Luka's minutes were carefully managed, but he insisted on suiting up for every major matchup. "If I'm healthy, I play," he said. That mentality endeared him even further to the fans, who saw echoes of legends past in his commitment. Internally, though, the coaching staff began worrying. The team's success now lived and died with Luka's presence on the floor. His usage rate hovered at historic highs. His fingerprints were on every possession. It wasn't just that he scored or assisted. It was how everything began and ended with him. The Lakers were winning, yes, but what would happen if Luka hit a wall? That fear came to life in March. During a tense road game against the Grizzlies, Dončić took a hard fall while driving to the rim. He remained on the ground for a few seconds too long. The arena went quiet. The bench stood frozen. Trainers rushed to him. It turned out to be a lower back contusion, painful but not season-threatening. Still, it forced him to sit for 2 weeks. In that span, the Lakers lost 4 of 6 games. The offense sputtered. Role players hesitated. The floor spacing vanished. It wasn't just Luka's stats that were missing, it was his presence. He was the compass, and without him the team looked disoriented. Dončić, watching from the sidelines in street clothes, didn't complain. He used the time to study film, coach younger players from the bench, and, when the cameras weren't watching, spend hours in the facility rehabbing. When he returned, he wasn't just physically ready. He was more focused than ever. The final stretch of the season was electric. The Lakers went on an 11-2 run in April. Luka returned with a vengeance, averaging 33.2 points, 10.1 assists, and 9.6 rebounds over the final 13 games. But more than the numbers, it was his demeanor. Poised, deadly, efficient. No wasted movement. No drama. In a nationally televised showdown against the Nuggets that had major playoff implications, Dončić dropped 38 points, including 12 in the final 4 minutes. The win clinched home court advantage in the first round. The locker room afterward was loud, loose, confident. Someone played Slovenian music over the speakers. Luka danced, awkwardly but joyfully. The team was no longer just his responsibility. It was his reflection. The playoffs arrived like a storm, intense, demanding, brutal. The Lakers drew the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. It was the matchup everyone had speculated about, whispered about, even feared. Luka didn't flinch. He greeted his former teammates with handshakes and hugs. But once the ball was tipped, there was no sentimentality. Game 1, 32 points, 9 assists. Game 2, triple-double. Game 3, a dagger 3 in front of the Dallas bench. The Lakers won the series in 5. "I've got nothing but love for Dallas," he said in the post-game. "But this is home now." The second round brought the Phoenix Suns. Faster, more physical with a deep bench. It went to 7 games. Luka played all 48 minutes in Game 7, finishing with 41 points, 14 assists and 11 rebounds. The final whistle saw him collapse to the floor, exhausted, triumphant. The Lakers were in the Western Conference Finals. The city caught fire with excitement. Murals of Dončić began popping up downtown. Billboards along the 405 showed his silhouette in purple and gold, arms raised. One tagline read simply, "The future wears 77." But Luka stayed locked in. In an interview ahead of the series, he was asked about legacy, about being the next in line, about what it meant to carry the torch of Kobe, Magic, and LeBron. His answer was quiet but powerful. "I'm not here to replace anyone. I'm here to add to the story." The Western Conference Finals were a war. The Lakers went down 2-1 early, but Luka responded with consecutive 30-point games. Teammates rose to the occasion. Reeves hit clutch shots, Davis anchored the paint, the bench played with fire. In Game 6, Luka recorded a December 10, 35 line, sending the Lakers to their first NBA Finals since 2020. As the confetti fell and the team celebrated at center court, Luka stood slightly apart, hands on hips, eyes scanning the arena. He smiled but didn't raise his arms in victory. Not yet. Because for Luka Dončić, the story wasn't complete. Not until a championship banner hung in the rafters with his name written into Lakers history. Not until he proved that greatness wasn't just about arriving, it was about staying.